Alrighty guys, welcome back to another one. In today's video, we're putting together a really simple and cheap 16 gauge clay load, or you could use whatever size lead birdshot you want and turn it into a rabbit, squirrel, whatever kind of load you want, but we're using an ounce of number 9 shot, which I have here in my Lilo doll, so this is going to be a clay load, although it would be good for dove and quail too. The components we're using are pretty simple. A Winchester compression form 16 gauge hull. These are tapered. Now, these are discontinued, surprisingly. They are very good hulls, but it's just like the original old style AA compression formed hulls, but in 16 gauge. I wish they still made these. They are the best reloading hull ever made. Doesn't matter what press you have, the crimp's always coming out looking like they just left the factory. If you don't have these hulls, the Remington Game Load hull would be a good replacement. Those aren't tapered, but they have the internal diameter all the way down of a tapered hull, or close to it. They're straight wall, but really thick hull walls, if that makes sense. So you could use Claybuster wads in them just fine without having to pinch out the gas seal, or using a paper towel or napkin underneath the wad to seal the powder and stop powder migration. You don't need to do that with these in Remington hulls. Remington Game Load hulls, I should say. But if you don't have those either, well, you can use any straight wall hull and pinch out the gas seal, or again, 1-inch square paper towel underneath the wad to prevent powder migration. That's a pretty bad thing, sometimes anyway. Whenever you shoot it, you'll get what's called a blooper or a dud load, where it's just severely underpowered, and sometimes the wad gets stuck in the barrel and your shot just flies out 10 foot, hits the ground. That's no good. We don't want powder migration. Or you could just skip doing that and get the Z16 wads, which are for straight wall hulls, and they do seal the powder pretty good. But anyways, we're using a Winchester 209 primer. If you don't have those, a Shadot will work just fine, or any standard primer really. One more thing, if you're using a straight wall hull, you need 17 of Winchester AA Super Handicap. That's the powder I'm using to get around 1250 FPS average. But for tapered hulls, you want to back it down to 16 or 16 and a half. That's what I do anyway. While we're talking about that, there is no, as far as I know, published data for Winchester AA Super Handicap in 16 gauge, but there is for 12 and 20. All I've done here is kind of split the difference, leading a little bit more towards the tapered 12 gauge data, but still a good bit away from the powder charges you would use for 12 gauge. This is a recipe I developed years ago, and a lot of people use it and they like it just fine. I've had several people on Facebook message me and tell me that this load works incredibly well. It's very clean burning and it breaks clays very, very well. From my own personal experience, yes, it does burn very clean, and it's just a good load. This powder, Winchester AA Super Handicap, is Josh's favorite to use. He mostly does a lot of clay loads or small game loads. That's what he usually loads, but he also does load slug and buckshot occasionally too. You guys see that at the range sometimes. Pretty much this is our go-to powder for clay loads in 12, 20, and 16 gauge. You can use it in 10 for a 1 1/8 ounce or lower speed 1 1/4 load. It's just a pretty versatile powder. It's not as slow as Red Dot or Clays or stuff like that, or Tightwad. It's more similar to Green Dot, not quite as slow as Green Dot, but it has a lot of uses. So anyway, the wad is, well, obviously the Claybuster Blue wad. Let's get this started here. I already have this with a Winchester 209 in it. We need our powder charge. Now we need the Claybuster Blue wad. Toss it in there and give that a seat with the primer seating punch. The wad is exactly where it needs to be for a fold crimp. We need 1 ounce of shot. Again, I'm using number 9. And lastly, we just need a thin overshot card. This is a 24 gauge nitro card, and it's just one section off the sections of 3. Drop it right on, ready to crimp this. These go together very fast. Backstation of the Lilo doll, you want the point in the crimp facing you. I think I had it lined up right. I did. to turn that around and give it some the other way too. Excellent pre-crimp. And close it up. Alrighty. We ended up with a very, very good crimp. No pinhole at all. And we have a really good taper on it. Yep, the Lee Lodahl actually puts tapers on these old compression formed hulls. Not so much with modern hulls like a Shadad or Fiocchi, anything like that, but they do put tapers on the old style AA or compression formed hulls, which is really cool. No need for a gap or any kind of crimp finisher. That's good to go. We'll do one more, why not? This time I have a Shadad CX2000 primer in it, but there's that. Our wad. Little bit of pressure. 1 ounce of whatever size lead bird shot you want, and a nitro card on top. Give it a crimp. I'm just doing this one just to show you how fast they can go together. Yep. Real easy. Beautiful, beautiful crimp on that one too. And again, it is tapered. Looks great. These go together actually really quick. I'll keep cranking these out off camera, and we'll shoot some clays. Should be pretty fun. An ounce of number 9 shot, certainly good medicine for clays. But I think that's going to do it for me. Please like and subscribe. We always appreciate that. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down in the comment section below, and we'll get back to you. And if you want to, go check out our Patreon. It's as low as $1 a month, and you guys get early access to content. A link to that, as well as a link to our Instagram, Rumble, and now merch store, will be in the description below. But other than that, you guys take it easy. We'll see you in the next one.